Salam Keluarga Malaysia. You're watching News at 10. I'm Muhammad Amin Carlos. And making the headlines tonight, Compassionate Aid Program continues as flood situation improves. While EPF declares a strong dividend payout. Well, starting with some good news, as the flood situation in Kelantan and Terengganu have shown a positive improvement when the number of evacuees continues to drop. Now, as of 7 p.m., the total number of people who were displaced due to floods dropped to 20,249 from 25,208 this afternoon. The weather, which has improved, allows the evacuees to return home and begin cleaning works. In Kelantan, the situation has slightly improved. However, 21 temporary relief centers, or PPS, are still operating in 2 districts affected in the state, namely Pasir Mas and Tumpat. Well, currently 7,956 evacuees from 2,619 families are still seeking refuge at the active PPS. The number drops from 9,025 people in the afternoon. Meanwhile, in Terengganu, over 4,000 people have returned to their homes, making the total number of evacuees in the operating PPS in the state dropping to 12,293 from over 16,000 in the afternoon. And the number of relief centers in the state also dropped from 71 in the afternoon to 56 as of 7 p.m. The Malaysian Meteorological Department, or Met Malaysia, had forecasted rain in several areas within Kelantan this week, starting from today. While in Terengganu, Met Malaysia forecasted that there could be rain in a few places starting tomorrow. Well, the government will retain the financial assistance of Bantuan Wang Isan of up to 10,000 ringgit to households affected by the recent floods that hit Terengganu and Kelantan. And as of today, 28,287 households affected by the disaster had received the assistance worth 1,000 ringgit. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob, during his visit to Temporary Relief Centre, or PPS, at Kampung Batu 23 in Hulu Terengganu, distributed the financial aid to the affected households.
Gelombang pertama dulu yang dapat akan dapat sama saja. Whatever kita dah bagi dulu untuk gelombang pertama, untuk di Terengganu, Kelantan ni pun kita akan bagi sama saja. Okay?
Maksudnya sama?
Sama saja. Maksudnya yang RM1,000 bantuan wang ihsan, RM2,500 untuk membeli barangan keperluan rumah, and then untuk repair rumah. Semua yang ada lah, untuk beli barangan elektrik, untuk repair kenderaan yang secara umum dulu sama saja, diperolehi juga. Mana kalau campur dengan repair rumah, cash tu lebih kurang, cash dengan voucher tu lebih kurang almost 10,000 lah.
Well, aside from Bantuan Wang Isan, those affected are also eligible for aid provided under the National Disaster Relief Fund for purchase of electrical appliances, repair works of house and vehicle. 272 residents from 76 households seek shelter at the Batu 23 PPS since last Saturday. The Prime Minister then continued his visit at another PPS in Pasir Mas, Kelantan. In his visit to Kelantan, Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri stressed the need to channel financial aid to households affected by floods as soon as possible. The Premier said the financial aid worth up to 1,000 ringgit will be distributed to the affected according to the PPS registry before they are allowed to return home.
Dan untuk mangsa yang berpindah, saya harap nama-nama telah pun ada di setiap pusat pemindahan, dan kita akan membuat bayaran secepat mungkin kepada mangsa yang berpindah di pusat pemindahan sementara itu. Manakala jika ada kematian, ada 5 untuk ada dapat kematian di sini, pihak kerajaan akan memberikan sumbangan sebanyak RM10,000 untuk setiap masa.
Meanwhile, commenting on long-term projects to address floods problem in Kelantan, he said the government is eyeing an allocation of 1.3 billion ringgit to continue phase 2 of flood mitigation projects as proposed by the Environment and Water Ministry and Department of Irrigation and Drainage. The fourth wave of floods that hit Kelantan and Terengganu since last Friday has affected over 26,000 people. Well, a total of 1.1 billion ringgit in special allowances had been paid to eligible healthcare frontliners who are tasked with managing the COVID-19 pandemic in the country. And according to Health Minister Khairi Jamaluddin, apart from doctors, nurses and ambulance drivers who are currently among the staff who are eligible to receive the special allowance, there are still other groups involved in the management of the outbreak.
Prinsip yang melayakkan pembayaran allowance khas COVID-19 adalah anggota kesihatan perlu diarahkan melaksanakan tugas dalam rantaian skop pengurusan wabak COVID-19 dan bayaran dibuat berdasarkan borang tuntutan yang dibuat oleh pegawai kepada pusat tanggungjawab PTJ masing-masing.
Well, Khairi was replying to a question posed by Tampin Member of Parliament, Dato Dr. Hassan Bahrom, who wanted to know about the payment of bonuses to healthcare frontliners. He added that the members of the medical frontliner groups that are eligible to receive this special allowance will be updated from time to time to include, for example, physiotherapists who are involved in long COVID treatment as they meet the criteria set to get this special allowance. Well, meanwhile, the Health Minister told the Dewan Rakyat that the deadline extension for Sinovac recipients age 18 and above and senior citizens age 60 and above to obtain their booster dose until 31st March has nothing to do with the Johor state election. Well, he said the extension was to give time to the two groups to complete their booster dose injections, as many of them still had not received the dose.
Lebih kepada untuk kita memberi masa sedikit bagi mereka untuk melengkapkan booster. Ada banyak permintaan supaya dilanjutkan sedikit masa. Jadi lanjutan masa ini pun adalah yang terakhir, yang muktamad, dan pada akhir bulan ini sekiranya mereka tidak mendapat dos penggalak mereka, maka status vaksinasi mereka adalah tidak lengkap.
Meanwhile, Khairi said the move to open the vaccination center of PBV on a walk-in basis and provide booster dose vaccine options was aimed at helping to increase the number of booster dose recipients in the country. The decision to use 147 secondary schools in Johor as voting centres for the upcoming state poll will not affect the flow of Sijil Pelajaran Malaysia examinations. Well, according to Senior Education Minister Dato Dr. Muhammad Razzi Majidin, rooms allocated for the voting process will not include examination rooms. Well, he also said prior to this, Education Ministry had requested to the Election Commission to not use secondary school buildings as voting centres. However, due to some restraints, the Ministry agreed to allow the EC to use classrooms as voting centres.
Apa yang penting kita secara umumnya berbincang dengan SPN dan bersetuju supaya bilik-bilik yang digunakan untuk tujuan peperiksaan ini tidak digunakan untuk tujuan mengundi.
A total of 407,097 SBM candidates had begun their examination today. Meanwhile, a total of 903 SBM candidates in Kedah did not sit for the examination. According to the State Education Director Rosani Ahmad, all of the students are currently undergoing home quarantine after they tested positive for COVID-19 and some were identified as close contacts. Two other candidates took the examination in hospital as they were diagnosed with chickenpox in appendix. In Terengganu, 319 candidates affected by floods sit for the examination at 4 alternative examination centres, while the placement period would be evaluated from time to time. In total, 18,815 SBM candidates are sitting for the examination in the state. Over in Kelantan, Malaysia Education Ministry, together with the Armed Forces, transported 141 SPM candidates in Pasir Mas district to examination centres following floods that hit the district recently. And there are 1,126 SPM candidates in Labuan, made up from 1,001 from 9 government secondary schools, 7 from Labuan International Schools, and 37 from secondary schools under the Federal Territories Islamic Religious Council. There are also 81 private candidates that are based in Labuan Matriculation College. Coming up, PLC transformation program to catalyze performance and growth. Well, the Employees Provident Fund, or EPF, has declared 6.1% dividend for conventional savings for 2021 with a total payout of 50.45 billion ringgit, surpassing the 5.45% dividend declared during the pre-pandemic year of 2019. And Chief Executive Officer Dato' Sri Amir Hamzah Azizan also announced a 5.65% dividend for Simpanan Syariah with a total payout of 6.27 billion ringgit for 2021, beating the 5% dividend in 2019. Well, this is also the highest dividend announced by the fund in 3 years. Well, this brings the total payout amount for 2021 to 56.72 billion ringgit. Well, he said the healthy dividend delivered in 2021 was due in part to the board's healthy and globally diversified portfolio. And according to him, the primary concern with the withdrawals was the impact on members' retirement adequacy. However, he said despite the challenge of managing liquidity in the face of these outflows, the EPF had the capability and agility to respond with minimal impact to financial market.
Because we have committed under the 3 schemes to help our members to some early withdrawals, we have to manage the liquidity need in 2020 and 2021. Yeah? And the best way to actually manage that was to bring back some money from international. Because whenever we liquidate international, we have a fairly diverse portfolio, so we don't rattle the market. Yeah? That is to allow us to fulfill the commitments to members. Yeah?
Well, the crediting of the dividends for both conventional savings and Simpanan Syariah will be completed on 6 March, and members may check their accounts via iAccount or get their statements from the EPF kiosks nationwide. Well, Bursa Malaysia's public listed companies, or PLC, transformation program is expected to catalyze the performance and growth of PLCs and companies within their ecosystem. Well, Finance Minister Tengku Datuk Sri Zafrul Tengku Abdul Aziz said the program is also expected to align them with the latest global trends, investor demands and stakeholder expectations.
Ultimately, the program will enhance the corporate performance of Malaysia's PLCs, thereby creating a more attractive marketplace for domestic and foreign investors alike. While the program is targeted for public listed companies, lessons from the digital guidebooks can be applied to the wider SME community.
Well, anchored on 5 digital guidebooks, the PLC transformation program would nurture purpose and performance-driven PLCs, cultivate a greater sense of transparency, embed sustainability practices, as well as enhance stakeholder management and investor relations. It will also encourage digital adoption, as well as drive robust talent development to strengthen nation building. He added that the program is also supported by the government's ongoing efforts to reform and optimize government-linked investment companies, GLICs. Well, over 900 million ringgit have been channeled by the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Industry since 2 years ago to assist industry players, especially those in agri-food sector, in facing the COVID-19 pandemic. Its Minister, Dato' Sri Dr. Ronald Kiandi, said the assistance was provided under the Prihatin Rakyat Economic Stimulus Package, known as Prihatin National Economic Recovery Plan, or Penjana, and Food Guarantee Grant. In efforts to ensure every industry player receive the benefit of the allocation, the ministry is committed to continue dialogue and engagement sessions with them.
Mendengar cadangan dan juga keluhan mereka dan mengambil tindakan-tindakan perlu dalam bentuk penyelesaian melalui dasar dan sebagainya untuk terus menentukan industri agro makanan ini dibangunkan dan terus menyumbang kepada pertumbuhan ekonomi negara.
In 2020, plantation subsector remains as a main contributor, involving 24.1 billion ringgit compared to other subsectors under the agro-food industry. The minister was met during engagement session in conjunction with Agro-Food Industry Dialogue Tour in Pago, Johor. Well, a total of 310 micro, small and medium enterprises, or MSMEs, have benefited from the Bumiputra Enterprise Enhancement Program grants, totaling 38.7 million ringgit in 2021. Entrepreneur Development and Cooperatives Minister Tan Sri Noh Omar said the assistance, which was provided through SME Corp Malaysia, was in the form of grants of up to 500,000 ringgit for the purpose of enhancing MSME business capacity and capability.
Bagi syarikat PKS yang memohon pembiayaan untuk menambah baik perniagaan di bawah program pembiayaan digital PMKS, Digital Financing Initiative (DFI), mereka layak untuk mendapat penukaran geran sehingga 50%. Hanya maksimumnya 250,000 daripada perbelanjaan yang layak, seperti yang layak dimohon, seperti mana cadangan daripada pemak parit. Kita ada convert daripada geran ke pinjaman kepada geran. Namun demikian, ianya tertakluk kepada beberapa syarat.
Tan Sri Noh said this in response to a question from Pirate Member of Parliament Dato' Muhammad Nizar Zakaria at the Dewan Rakyat today. He added that as at October 2021, a total of 20 SMEs have received grant conversions totaling 4.7 million ringgit. Well, Khazanah National Berhad has called for international borders to reopen to revive the tourism sector, which in turn will help to boost Malaysia Airlines operations and leisure activities under its stable of investments. Its Managing Director, Dato' Amirul Faisal Wan Zahir, emphasized that the Sovereign Wealth Fund is focusing on improving Malaysia Airlines operations to ensure yields are maintained and that the airline remains profitable.
Support that the airline would need depends on whether it can resume activities. And it can only resume activities if people are allowed to travel. So we're really, really hoping that international borders open up. The sooner, the better.
Well, speaking during his first annual briefing on Khazanah Annual Review 2022 today, Dato' Amirul Faisal said Khazanah's operating profit fell to 670 million ringgit in 2021 from 2.9 billion ringgit in 2020, mainly due to the financial assistance being extended to Khazanah's airlines and tourism companies still weathering headwinds from the COVID-19 pandemic. Its profit was also impacted by lower fair value gains and lower dividend income from investee companies on the back of subdued 2020 earnings. Dato' Amirul Faisal also said Khazanah remained open to collaboration on Malaysia Airlines, but the focus remained on its turnaround plan and operations. On the possibility of the disposal of its stakes in Malaysia Airlines, he said Khazanah would need to scrutinize the proposals for the exercise. Coming up in sports, Nazim Azman, first Malaysian to race in Formula 3. Well, time for sports, and Nazim Azman will be the first Malaysian driver to race in Formula 3 or F3 for the 2022 season after being signed up by the High-Tech Grand Prix or High-Tech GP team. Well, the announcement was made through the International Automobile Federation or FIA F3 Championship website yesterday. Well, a 20-year-old Nazim is set to complete the lineup after joining Kalen Frederick and Isaac Hajar with the Silverstone base squad. Nazim, who was born in Kuala Lumpur, in a statement said that he feels excited to be stepping up to the FIA F3 series with the high-tech GP. And according to him, the team is an established race and championship winner in the F3 category and will provide him with the perfect platform from which to focus on racing against some of the best young talent in the world. Nazim performed admirably in his 2021 season in the Euro Formula Open Championship, winning once and taking 7 podiums to finish 4th overall. He also raced on all 3 days of the 2021 postseason testing in Valencia, Spain, spending the first 2 days with Genza Motorsports and the final day with Charo's racing system as he got his first taste of F3 machinery. Well, all national sports associations are in good mood and more spirited in preparing their athletes for the Hanoi Sea Games to be held from the 12th to the 23rd of May. Olympic Council of Malaysia, or OCM President Tan Sri Muhammad Norza Zakaria said the positive outlook was due to the government recently approving an allocation of 240 million ringgit for the implementation of the podium program from 2022 to 2025.
Oleh itu kita lihat bahawa dari segi mood persatuan-persatuan sukan itu bila program-program di bawah JKK dan ada program-program yang telah sebelum ini diletakkan bersama-sama di bawah MSN menunjukkan bahawa ada kesinambungan. Kita lihat bahawa persatuan-persatuan sukan menerima berita ini dengan baik dan mereka mempunyai semangat yang berkobar-kobar untuk meneruskan perjuangan mereka atas nama negara Malaysia.
Well, at the same time, he also announced that the selection committee had recommended for the national contingent to the SEA Games to be set at 770 people, including 574 athletes and 196 officials. Well, of the total, 317 athletes will compete under Category A and 257 under Category B. But Tan Sri Muhammad Norza expects the total to rise when 3 other sports, namely swimming, athletics and esports, submit their lists of names before the deadline on 12 March. It looks like time is not on our side, and with that, we conclude this evening's News at 10. Now, top story, compassionate aid program continues as flood situation improves. Join us again at 12:30 tomorrow afternoon. Till then, I'm Muhammad Amin Carlos, and salam keluarga Malaysia.